Welcome back to another episode of Even Tacos Fall Apart, the podcast where we get real about mental health, relationships, and the human experience in general. I'm MommaFoxFire, and today's episode is truly special. Have you ever felt that healing from past wounds is crucial for finding lasting love? Well, you're not alone in that. Today, I am joined by the incredible duo Mark Siedler and Lynetta Avery, relationship experts and authors, to talk about this exact thing. Together, we are diving into the profound journey of healing and how it paves the way for fulfilling partnerships. But it's not just about acknowledging and healing wounds, it's about the transformative power that comes with the healing itself. Before we get started, I want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for joining me today. You are taking a step towards self-discovery, growth, and healing just by tuning in. Remember that you are not alone on this path, and you being here makes me feel a little less alone on my path as well. So thank you for that selfless and, just automatic act that you are doing by being here today. Let's all tune in and absorb the wisdom of Mark and Lynetta as they share with us. Trust me, this episode is a game changer for relationships and communication in general. So grab your favorite drink, find a cozy spot, and let's embark on this journey together. Good to go. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday. I'm super excited to be talking with Mark and Lynetta. We're going to be talking about healing wounds to find lasting love today. So a really cool topic. I am going to go ahead and open up a question queue. If you have any questions for our guests while we are live today, feel free to pop those into the chat with an exclamation point, the letter Q. Follow that with your question. That'll make sure that I see it and that we have it flagged to make sure that we ask while we're live here today. So Mark and Lynetta, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join us from two different locations.
Oh, yeah. Yes, thank you for having us.
Thanks for inviting us. Yes.
Yes. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am too. I think this is going to be a really good conversation. Y'all's energy already has been great while we're setting up and everything. So
it's our favorite subject. So
well, that's
we're
good.
Really glad you're doing it.
That's good.
People need to hear this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So a little bit about Mark and Lynetta. Before Mark and Lynetta met, they both started attending the best consciousness and healing trainings that money can buy. They spent over $125K and 25 years learning the best techniques for clearing trauma, attaining peace, and manifesting love. Through all the training, they acquired the golden secrets to creating a heart-centered, deeply intimate, loving, spiritual relationship. They merged the best of these trainings with their own life experiences to create the most unique relationship coaching tools for people. These include 2 published books, 3 Doors to the Soul and Do the Work, 5 Steps to Transcend Trauma, Summon Love, and Invoke Your Power. Mark and Lynetta are the world's greatest experts at failed relationships, so you don't have to be. And if you are looking to connect with Mark and Lynetta, I have some links for you: website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. Any of those that you would like to connect, you are welcome to do so. There's those links in the chat. And again, I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time out and joining us here today.
Yes, I love your cat.
This is Tyrion. He's giant. He's huge. He's a huge cat. So he likes to be, this is where he would prefer to spend all of his time, is just on me. But because he's so big, he has his own little seat over here. So he likes all the attention.
Yes, he's adorable. Mama, I lost your, there we go. There's your video. It went out for a little bit.
Oh.
Okay.
Hopefully it's staying on for everyone else. So when you two are not working with other couples or other folks, what do you enjoy doing both separately and together?
You want me to start, honey?
Sure.
Okay, so we live full-time in an RV, and we travel all over. We have RV resorts all over the U.S., so we get to travel all the time. Right now, Mark is in Oregon, in Florence, Oregon, right on the coast. It's beautiful there, surrounded by forests and sand dunes, and he loves to bicycle. And well, I'll let you answer on what you like to do. But what we like to do together is to hike together and cuddling The cuddling's our favorite. And we love bicycling, and we love pickleball
All
and
right.
swimming, and mostly hot tubbing. Hot tubbing's way up there on the list with cuddling. And and then I'm in San Luis Obispo, California, visiting my sister for 3 weeks. So what I'm doing while I'm here is going walks on the beach. We're going to rent some electric bikes and go biking. And I'm going to put up a tent in the backyard and sleep outside a few nights.
Nice. And good weather for it there too, right?
It is. It is. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And what do you do, honey?
Well, first, talking about a contrast in weather, you said it was like almost 110 for a lot of days.
Yeah, here. Yeah. So today it was only 99, which is a blessing. Like it is bearable to go outside.
Right.
So here on the Oregon coast, the high every day is about 65. And it's mostly cloudy to the afternoon, and you're lucky to get a few hours of sun. So a little contrast.
I'm jealous.
And I'm having about 80 to 90 degrees weather every day.
Yeah. I mean, that's nice too. That's nice too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in addition to the things Lynetta mentioned that we like to do together, we both also like dancing, but we like different types of dancing. Like I really love social dancing, especially Latin, salsa, bachata, and started taking lessons in the last year or so, whereas Lynetta likes ecstatic dance. So we have different dance preferences, but we join each other some of the time with, each other's preferred type of dance.
And if you don't know what ecstatic is, it's just you just tune in and you close your eyes and you just move however your body feels. So there's no steps that you're supposed to memorize.
Oh, I like that. See, that's
the focus is not to be interacting or even flirting with people. It's really just to go inside and do your own thing, even though people are around you.
Yeah.
That's really so I like
neat.
that.
I was going to ask what it was, so I'm glad that you explained it.
Yeah. Also, I love yoga, so I may go to yoga classes when he goes to dance classes, and then he has said he'll teach me because I get a little nervous when I can't get the steps as quick as the instructor is teaching.
Yeah.
So Mark will come home and he'll just show me how to do the steps. He's a better teacher. He does real slow for me.
Yeah. Well, and he knows your speed, right? Like
he does.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And plus I have a dance background, so that helps.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I love hearing that y'all have your own things that you like, and then you have things that you do together. I think that that's really important in a relationship to be able to maintain. I think that that's really neat.
Yeah. Yep.
What is y'all's favorite thing or some of your favorite things about working with couples and relationships, and what are some of the biggest challenges in that work?
I'd say favorite thing is the results.
Yeah.
We love when we do a session with somebody and there's like that aha moment, like we'll teach them a technique like acknowledgments, for example, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. And they get it and they're so touched. They're like looking at each other and there's like tears in their eyes because they've never felt so seen and heard and understood and appreciated and loved. And it's just like, and then like, that's a technique that they get to use the rest of their life, hopefully every day, because that's what we encourage. And it's like one session and somebody's life can be vastly improved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what motivates us to do this work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such a beautiful experience to hear that they're having better communication, that they're enjoying sharing things that they've never shared with their partner, and now they can.
Yeah.
It's really sweet.
Yeah, that's neat. So what are some of the biggest challenges in this work?
I'd say when both partners aren't committed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times you get one partner, often the woman, who, is like reached her limit. It's just like it's not working, and it could be heading towards divorce even if they're married, and she really wants it to work, but a lot of times, often the man is just not willing to go there. A lot of times, even have that initial call just to speak with us.
Yeah.
That's really, I'd say, the biggest problem. What would you say, Ann?
I'd say for us, it's mastering how to engage people and how to even get them to have that first call with us, because we had not mastered how you, basically how you market to people in a way that they're really engaged and that they see that help them get clarity on what it is they need, and that we can help them get there. And that's what we just signed up for, a program that we are learning all of that. And wow, are we seeing the mistakes we were making. And now we're for the first time, we're really getting engagement through our social media platforms.
So kind of the business side of things.
For people who aren't yet clients.
Yeah. That's really neat. Yeah, the business side of things. We were talking before we started here about passion projects versus, what keeps the lights on. And the business side of a passion project that you've turned into kind of a career it's serious business.
Yes.
Do you have a serial killer or true crime story that fascinates you?
Oh, well, we were talking about this. We looked over your questions, which amazing questions. And that one we're like, oh, what would we talk about? Because we usually watch like sci-fi or fantasy. And then Mark's like, well, why don't you talk about when you went to jail?
Oh, now I need to know.
Somebody else's crime. We can just talk about yours, honey.
We can talk about mine.
Yes, I'm invested. Tell me everything.
Okay.
There's actually a picture in Lynetta's book. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a copy of the book with her. That shows a picture of her holding her hand up on the window where, you're inside and somebody's on, and her son is on the outside. It's actually in her book. I was like, we should probably tell that story.
Yeah. So, I was very attracted to alcoholics and addicts when I was, just discovering that I could get into a relationship at 18 years old. I finally had freedom. My parents before that wouldn't even let me date. I was raised a very strict Jehovah's Witness, by the way. And so I started to see people that were very destructive. They were emotionally unavailable. And I found out that I was very addicted to that person, and whatever drug they did, I wanted to do just because I wanted to be with them. And so if they drank, I would hang out in the bars. If it was speed, I would do that. If it was heroin, I did that with my second husband. And that led to, he was since he was 19, he was in and out of prison. And I was about 25 when I met him. And he was a gorgeous, gorgeous hunk, with the big muscles and tattoos and the long hair. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I just went gaga for this guy. And he also was very charming. So, so I started using with him because he would take off all the time. And even when we were together, he would be staring out the window. And he wasn't very interested in staying home. And I was just heartbroken when he'd leave. And I just pined for him like all night. I would just be like, I wonder when he's coming home. So after a while, I just started going with him. And then I ended up using with him. And I got hooked on it. And then when he went to prison, I continued to use, and I got into trouble, and I used heroin for about 3 years, and then when I got caught for dirty tests because I was on probation for a while, I had gotten caught for stealing because we would steal together. And then when I went to jail, I realized if I keep doing this, I'm going to end up always in jail, like he's always in prison, and then we're never going to be together anyway. So I'm like, well, I need to give him up. And it was the hardest thing to give him up because he was a mixture of my mom and my dad. So I felt very comfortable with him. It felt like family, felt like home. And he was really funny too. So that was hard to. I loved even when things were really bad, he could laugh through it. So I was with him for 5 years total, and then I got that if I keep doing this, I'm going to be in jail most of it, and I am not cut out for jail. I don't do well in there. I'm too innocent and like I know I'm not cut out for that, so I had to clean it up, and I went to rehab and got clean about back in 95. And I went through a rehab that helped me a great deal, and then I continued to doing the 12-step program. So that was my life of crime, and I decided I needed to get away from alcoholics and addicts. After that, went to codependence, 12 steps, and Al-Anon for a few years.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful that you're still here with us today then, in that case.
Thank you.
A lot of people go down that path aren't here, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and you make it sound so easy. You're like, I went to rehab, but I know that is a hard step to stop using and to kind of break those addictions, both to the people and to the drugs. So, good job. Good work, honestly.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can y'all share a little bit about your personal journeys and experiences that led you to really start exploring consciousness healing in the pursuit of a heart-centered relationship?
You go, honey.
Okay. So first, Lynette and I both have a similar kind of background we came with from our families. We both had fathers who could be violent at times and moms who were kind of not there in certain ways. And there was also kind of like some sexual weirdness in the home, not outright abuse, but definitely weird stuff going on. And we both turned to religion. Lynetta grew up in it. I started exploring in my teens and got really into it for a while. For me, it was Judaism. And actually got studied for 8 years and got ordained as a rabbi.
Oh, wow.
But both of us, since our homes were so dissatisfying, were really looking for some bigger picture of love and also understanding of, what's up with this world. These families we have, and is there something we're supposed to be doing? Is there really a God? What are we doing on this planet? Like all those really big questions, either prompted by religion or just our own challenging situations. We were both asking them. And for both of us, we did a bunch of exploring. For me, one of the most significant things that kind of started me on what I'd call the spiritual or consciousness journey was learning about near-death experiences. In particular, the first book I read was from Dr. Raymond Moody, who was a surgeon who had patients who would almost die in surgery, and then they would relate things about what happened to them when they, quote, died. And for me, that was almost like a window into a world I wasn't familiar with. And it wasn't the same things you hear from religion. And actually, both of us did a lot of studies kind of along these lines, starting with near-death experiences, past lives, in between lives, over like, I'd say a couple decades that we both studied and finally started to get answers and kind of get that big picture of what life is all about.
Yep.
That reminds me a lot. I did an interview with a gentleman named Bob Ginsberg about how belief in life after death impacts grieving, and he talked a lot about stories that people have told about near-death experiences and what they've witnessed themselves, and kind of the things that they would relate, and how it impacts how they thought about death and how it can impact how everyone thinks about death. That was a great conversation, but that just popped into my head while you were talking about it.
Thank you for sharing that, because we use it for people who are open to this spiritual viewpoint. We actually found it for ourselves to be very helpful as far as how to deal with trauma. Because, there's all kinds of healing and release techniques for trauma, and we've used them ourselves. We use them with clients. But, at some point, there's going to be that question, why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
And we found the best understanding, the most empowering understanding was a spiritual viewpoint, which I'm going to distinguish from a religious viewpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're not interested in beliefs per se, just to have beliefs. We only adopt beliefs that we find empowering, that give us and give people that we work with a feeling of they're in charge of their life, even though all these things happened to them when they were younger. We want people to be fully empowered to create any kind of life they want.
Yeah.
I like that. And I like the distinction between spirituality and religion also, because I grew up in a very religious household. My grandfather was a Church of Christ preacher. We grew up going to a Baptist church, and as an adult, I tried to find something that felt right. And we went to a Methodist church, and we went to there's one something gospel something. Anyway, there were all of these different, a Unitarian church, all of these different churches that I kept trying to find what felt right, and I kind of landed on I'm going to take what serves me and leave the rest behind.
That's
exactly.
right.
I love that.
Eclectic is best.
Yes, exactly.
It's the spiritual buffet table.
I love that. Oh, that's
It's good, honey.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Spiritual buffet. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
that's
kind of,
go ahead.
Go ahead. So that's kind of our consciousness. Now, you also asked about heart-centered relationships.
Yeah.
Should we go to that?
Yeah.
So I'd say for both of us, especially growing up in our families, we never really felt loved. And we've kind of been on a lifelong search to truly feel loved. And we both have gone through previous relationships. Lynetta's been more the explorer than I have, but I was previously married. I had a few relationships before I met Lynetta. And both of us have really had this, I really want to have that ultimate relationship.
Yeah.
Even though we had our non-successes, we used everything previous as stepping stones.
Yeah.
And as refinement. Like we don't say we had relationship failures. What we say is every previous relationship, starting with our family and then all the romantic relationships, was a refining process to say, okay, now I know that I don't want this in my relationship and I do want this. And it's a constant yes, no, until we had both really made our lists of what we wanted. And shortly after that, we met. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going on 10 years now. We've been married almost 9 years.
Aw, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Should I answer some of that?
I was going to say, I feel like Mark's done a lot of talking there. So, Lynetta, if you have anything to add or anything, you're welcome to jump in.
Yeah, what led me on consciousness is I really tried to make my religion work, and it just was not working for me. It was so strict. I got into trouble just from making out and kind of, having somebody feel me around my chest, breast area, and I got in so much trouble for that in front of the whole congregation. It was announced that I was being disciplined for it, and I was only 17 years old. I was just mortified, And when they disfellowship you, they announce it from the stage, so you are shunned publicly to the whole congregation. And from then, my cousins, aunts, nobody would talk to me, and they never even told me bye. There was no closure, nothing. So I just did not think that a loving creator could do that, because I love my son so much that if he were to do some of the things that I had done, I would no way. I certainly wouldn't destroy him. And am I somebody who loves even more than my creator? And the answer was no. There's no way. It's not possible. Creator has to be even more loving than I am. So I really sunk into my heart, and I said, okay, I'm going to have to find something that works for me. And when I started searching, I didn't know where to look. I went to other churches, and the moment that they found out that I was Jehovah's Witness, they would try to convert me. And I said, well, you're doing the same thing. You're saying that, the witnesses are wrong, and I have to be yours, and it has to be your way, or I'm not going to get to heaven. And that didn't work. That was just like another version, And then I went to powwows. I got some sweat lodges experiences with the Native Indians, and that gave me a whole new perspective. They said you could pray to whoever you want. We're more nature based, so we're going to teach you that spirit lives in that tree. And I was like, I totally feel that resonate with me. I feel like nature is how I stay in contact with creator, or the earth, the sky, Father Sky, Mama Earth, all of that resonated with me. And then it went from there. I found other spiritual, Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. That was that really helped me break free from the brainwashing of the Jehovah's Witness. And then I started reading about near-death experiences. And Adina Marjani, Dying to Be Me, she has a near-death experience that really touched my heart. For one, when she experienced crossing over, and she had been announced dead because her organs had shut down. And while she was on the other side, she said, there's only love. There's no judgment. And I saw my dad, and there was no, and they always had trouble when he was alive. They always had trouble relating, but up there, she's like, it was all gone. All there was love. And he said, you're going to have to make a choice. Do you want to go back to Earth, or go on with me? And she decided to come back so she could share these experiences with people. And reading that, even though I personally have not had a near-death experience, reading hers gave me all the comfort I needed, and I trusted her more than I've ever trusted the Bible.
Yeah.
So that gave me a lot of hope. And when I met Mark, he was already with Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, which are all about what happens beyond this life in the afterlife. And we had a similar understanding about we are souls in a flesh body, but this is temporary,
Mm-hmm.
but we will continue to live. And there's no hell, there's no heaven, there's just a place of pure awareness and consciousness that we experience when we are, and we can look like this if we want to. We can look like anything we want, and we can go anywhere we want. And there's just total freedom and total love, and there's no book of judgment. And that is really the core foundation of what helps Mark and I to never have arguments. We don't make each other wrong for anything because we don't go by morality, good, bad, right, wrong. We go by what workability. What's going to work for both of us? And we'll both express what our desires or wants or needs are, and then we'll team up together and find workability for both of us. And it's so loving. It's so loving. This man totally accepts me. I've never been accepted for all of that, even my shadow aspects. He's like, of course you have that. Look at what you went through. It's a miracle you survived it. So whatever you had to do to get here, it's all good. And I never felt that way even about myself. It was hard to forgive myself for some of the things I had done. I was a bad mom. And that's like for mommies, that's a really tough one to have mommy guilt.
Yeah.
And know that I neglected him and abandoned him. And his insecurities, it's hard not to take it like I did that, and so Mark really helped to love those parts of me and show me that I can forgive it, because I was doing the best I could with considering the tools that I did not have. That was my very best. And look at what I'm doing now. Now I'm an awesome mom, and I have a great relationship with my son, and we've healed that past trauma, and he understands. And we now that we have a good relationship, all those years of the rift between us is gone. So it doesn't matter how long, if you have mommy guilt and you feel really bad, even if your kid tells you, hey, I don't need you. My son used to say this. He's like 30. I don't need your mom anymore. You missed your chance. I don't need that. And it's like, no, that's not true. He really does want me in his life. And that's just a hurt little boy talking. And you can always repair your relationship with your kids. I totally believe that, because my son was furious with me. Mark knows. He was so angry. And now he shares his heart with me. And so I know that parents can heal those relationships even if they've been really hard.
Yeah. That's really good to hear, because both of my kids, we have a great relationship, my kids and I do. I feel like maybe when they're adults, they'll write a book and I'll find out that I was terrible, but I don't think so. But they don't have the best relationships with their fathers. And so I keep emphasizing to them, like, listen, I know it's bad right now, but you got to just try not to burn bridges, and eventually maybe things will click into place. And so I try to encourage them always to keep those, even though it's a hard thing to do, to just try not to take things too personally. They're kids, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But eventually maybe they'll have a great relationship and it'll be fine.
Yes, it's possible. I mean, I was a mess. I was a wreck. Nobody guessed that I would ever recover. And here I am. So it can happen. I wouldn't give up on anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Y'all call yourselves the soulmate coaches, right? And you describe your relationship as a soulmate relationship, and that's where you emphasize responsibility for triggers and healing past hurts and kind of taking that your own responsibility in yourself. So could you talk a little bit about how that has contributed to building a deeper and more intimate connection between the two of you?
It's your turn, honey.
Oh. So the reason we call it a soulmate relationship is it's not that technically we're soulmates, though we have been together in past lives. But it's like we've got these great tools that we've learned over the years that make it into an awesome relationship. And, most people kind of, think of a soulmate as like everything's just all love, and there's never any problems. And it's not necessarily that way. What we would call a soulmate relationship is where you fully accept both of each other, as Lynetta said. The so-called light and dark sides, it's all not a problem because we're all human beings and we all have our pasts that we may still be struggling to clear. But what we have are tools we've picked up over the years, both from our previous relationships and doing things wrong, and then from, decades of training on how to communicate with people, how to honor, how to tune into yourself and get what your yes and your no is. And how to, as Lynetta pointed out earlier, not point the finger, not to do any blame or shame. But one of the biggest things we do is on the occasion something comes up, we'll say something like the following. So like Lynetta, you said something or did something, and I felt this. And I recognize that you're the trigger, not the source, not the cause. I was triggered.
Yeah.
Which didn't mean she did anything wrong. It just means she did whatever she did, and it brought back a memory, usually from childhood, and all of a sudden I'm in emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
So we'll say something like that. I'm triggered, even though I recognize you're not the fault. It's not you. You just triggered it.
Yeah.
Then what we do, and this is what's kind of unique, is we team up together to then, it's almost like, the biggest problem I'd say that people in relationship come to us is they're fighting, which usually means they're being triggered and they're doing finger pointing at each other. That's probably the biggest problem, right, honey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Say yes.
Yes. I am. You're triggering me.
Am I trying to control you, honey? That's one of her triggers.
Don't control me.
Or don't rush you.
He wants me, wherever I go, I have to bring my bear spray, my life jacket, my bike helmet. I'm like, oh my God.
And that's just to go to the bathroom. So what we do is, instead of any finger pointing, both of us take 100% responsibility for what we feel inside.
Yeah.
Then we team up on the same side to help whichever one of us is triggered clear that all the way back to the source.
Yeah. And if you've never heard this languaging, like we're used to using the word clearing, getting to the root cause, going to the source. And if you're not familiar with these kinds of terms, what it is, it's really language that's used in transformation. So think about when a caterpillar is, and a caterpillar is in that stage of what we'd say that's deep trauma. You're in PTSD. Okay. And then you get into a cocoon, and that's all the recovery. You start to learn about what you can do to heal yourself. And you get to the root causes, which are the memories that are way back when you were a little teeny tiny caterpillar about that big. And you go way back there to get it complete. And once you get it complete, and the completion is about you need to be seen, heard, embraced, and loved. That's what was missing. If that had taken place, then the healing could have begun way back then. But now you're going to do it now that you're a butterfly, and you can go back and reparent your little inner caterpillar. You can help that younger you to clear out those wounds by really being loving. This is just really about learning to be a human being who is loving and caring and presence. That's all it is. It's so simple, but that's really what all we're doing to help people heal. And when we heal each other, it's because we have been totally hearing their wound, being present, saying, "Oh, honey, come here. I love you. I'm so, so sorry. Please forgive me." And kind of representing that one that hurt you so that you can help them to feel what it's like to actually hear someone say they're sorry for what happened. And once you get that, there's just this huge relief. And then your inner caterpillar can come into your butterfly heart and just grow wings, and you become this beautiful butterfly. So all this languaging is really the transformation from the caterpillar to the butterfly.
So if we stick with the butterfly analogy for a second, if you're this little caterpillar and you're afraid of the cocoon that kind of starts that transformation process, what do you risk if you don't start that healing process for prior traumas before you enter into a relationship, or before you even heal yourself and continue to grow as a human being, even on your own? What are you risking if you don't heal that?
Well, this is not probably what you're expecting to hear. But when I heard that question, because I saw you had that question in there, and I was like, one thing that people may not get is that if you have a partner who also is totally committed to doing the inner work with you, then it is even more powerful to be in relationship. It's not going to destroy the relationship. It's going to help both of you to help each other to heal. But you both need to be fully committed and faster.
Right.
Fully committed to doing the work, and you equally have to be as committed. Not just one is really committed and one's so. It's like you need both the commitment of both sides, and then it'll work. But if you're trying to get in a relationship with somebody who's not willing to do the work, but you still have a lot of trauma work, healing work to do, you're going to be pushing each other's buttons all the time. And most likely what happens is people get together that have similar traumas, and they mirror their mother and fathers, and so they know exactly the buttons to push, and they push them all the time, and it's a subconscious thing that's going on. It's a loop that they can't get out of, and then it escalates, and they have no idea how it even got to be so charged, so emotionally charged, and they don't even know what started it. Because they're deep in the trauma. They're re-experiencing the original trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
I love hearing you say that it has to be both partners equally committed. And even at the very beginning, when y'all were talking about, some of the challenges where one partner is committed and one isn't, to kind of the process, because that I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my ex and I went to couples counseling. I think we went for 4 or 5 sessions, and he he finally said, "You know what? We're not going to therapy anymore."
Oh.
Okay, that's that then. Like I'll
That's that.
know, there's no point in
Yep.
dragging you along if you're just not going to be willing.
No,
But well,
and you
and
can't
what?
get anywhere.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Where can you go from there? You knew it was
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and what he
Right.
said was, "I just can't win in therapy."
Oh.
So that's a whole it's a whole other thing.
Well, actually, you see, that could have been useful because what I would do if I heard somebody say that, I'd said, "You're absolutely right because therapy's not about anybody winning or
Exactly.
anybody
Yeah.
losing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and
So
we had
there is no
already
winning.
yeah,
But
we
you're
had
never going to lose. You're only going to gain, not
yeah.
lose."
And we had already
Yeah.
talked about he was a very big scorekeeper in our relationship. And so we had already that had been one of the things that we talked about in therapy was you just won't stop keeping score, and if we could work together and like maybe we're putting points on the scoreboard together instead of you versus me, like if you want to keep score, let's keep score against the rest of the world. So that was
right.
That was one of the issues that we kind of butted heads on a little bit. There were plenty of issues.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Before you go forward, the one related issue I want to bring up is one of the biggest mistakes going into relationships is thinking you're going to fix the other person.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That, and I kind of made that mistake in my first marriage where I kind of assumed she would fix some of the stuff that I knew she had to address. But going in, thinking you're going to fix them, guaranteed recipe for disaster. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even I can confirm that.
Yeah, and it's hard because if you have a what I call bleeding heart for these people that are like alcoholics, addicts, or I loved. Oh God, it's just now clicking for me why I loved it so much. I loved the idea of if I could save them, I would feel so proud of myself. And then I would feel like, oh, this is why I'm here on earth. I found my purpose. I'm here to save the alcoholics and drug addicts of the world, And yeah, and it's like now being a coach, I know that it's not about saving people. It's about empowering them. For them to be powerful, not for me to feel so, oh, I'm the savior. Yes, I'll die on the cross. It's like, no, it's about empowering other people so that they come up with their own inner resources and they have resiliency and they have the strength and the power and love and the wisdom to come up with their own answers and their own wisdom and let them know, hey, you have everything inside of you right now to have the most amazing life you could ever imagine. And it's all within you. And all this time, everyone's been telling you what to do all your life. But you could just turn down the volume on those voices and turn up the volume on your voice. Yes. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.
You get two of them. Could y'all share an example of a challenging moment or something that you disagreed on in your relationship journey and how you worked together to heal and grow from it? You gave kind of a general, here's the process, but is there anything more specific that you could share?
She wants juicy details.
Give me the details. Come on.
How juicy do you want it?
As juicy as you want to get.
Yeah, who's listening? Are we talking adults? Are there children present?
No children. You have to click through that you are a mature adult to watch this.
Okay.
So it's safe space. Y'all share whatever you are comfortable sharing. So.
Shall I share? Well, when we went to dancing And Mark had this wonderful woman who loved to dance with him. And I am not like that into the dancing, but I could feel there was a connection between them. And I got really insecure about it. And I was riding on my bike one day and I was like really digging in to ask him, would you want to like have a life with this person? I mean, I was really like concerned about that. And I ended up getting in a bicycle accident.
Oh my goodness.
Because I was so nervous about it. And Mark's like, no. I mean, when we sat down and really talked about it, he's like, no, I love the life we have. There's just something there. And we both believe that there was a past life, something in their past life that they had a lot of, chemistry, and they had this so they have a beautiful friendship, and I'm totally at peace with it now. I totally feel secure with it because Mark had shared why it's so important for him to be in relationship with me, and that he knows he won't get that somewhere else. And that's what just felt so good to hear. And I just feel so much more secure in our relationship. Also, we also had some challenges after my menopause. I had menopause and my sex drive went downhill. And it's taken me some time to get that really, even though if the drive is down, my wanting to connect with Mark is coming from a different place. It's not coming from the, oh my God, I got to have you now. Come on, let's run to the bedroom. Now it's coming from a place of, I just want to really connect with you, honey, and bring my presence. Plus I had been taught from the time I was young that I needed to learn how to perform in the bedroom and keep my man satisfied. And if I didn't, he would stray.
Yeah.
And then when my sex drive went on, when it died, 5 years ago, then I got really nervous that, well, oh my gosh, he could stray from me, And it's taken a lot of time for us to work through that. And now I get that it's not about me pleasing him and making sure he's satisfied. Otherwise, he'll leave. He assured me that even if we never had sex again, he would stay with me. And I really believe him.
Yeah.
And that brought a lot of peace. And that shot my story down about I better make sure I make my man happy in bed. And he didn't want my performance. I mean, from the beginning, he's like, I don't want you to perform. That's not what I want. I want your presence. But I didn't know how to bring presence. I didn't even know what he was talking about. So I just cried, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to not be that. So if there's anyone listening where you're like, oh my gosh, I've always been in performance, it's like you can unlearn that. And now I'm learning how to, this is about connection. This is about my love for Mark and about my wanting to be closer and closer and closer to him. So right before I left, we had the most amazing ever making love, and I feel so safe and secure. And it's been all these years, like we've been together 9 years, only 2 of those years I had a big sex drive. Now I feel the most secure now than I ever have about that part of our relationship. And I know he'll never stray but I don't want him to go without something so important to him. I want him to have, I know he misses it. And when he shared that with me, it broke my heart. I'm like, I don't want you to not have that. I want you to have that with me. So
Thank you, honey.
Isn't it?
Thank you for sharing so vulnerably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really find it very fascinating that coming from different religious backgrounds, even that women are really taught that it is about keeping your man happy and fulfilling their needs, and they don't really
Yep.
talk a lot about the needs of the couple or the needs of the
No.
connection that comes along with sex, or
Right.
the needs of the woman as an individual. It's
Right.
really very off. I find it for a religion to be
Yeah.
very off to put that emphasis on it. So I'm glad that
Right.
y'all have reformed that as your own thing. So Mark,
Yeah.
Lynetta shared a couple of different things
Yeah.
there. Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on one second. I need to address the religious thing.
Yeah.
So, in Judaism, it's the exact opposite. In Judaism, the man has an obligation to make sure the wife is sexually satisfied. There is no obligation from the woman to the man. None.
Interesting.
And in fact, there are even discussions in the Talmud, which is this basically a law book from 2,000 years ago, that talks about different professions and how many times, either a week or a month or a year, depending on your profession, you needed to sexually satisfy your wife. If you're a traveling salesman, obviously it's not going to be as often as if you're a day laborer.
Right.
So for me, it was so funny. The first time Lynetta told me what she had been trained, I was like, where did you all get that? Judaism is quite clear that the man has to make sure the woman is satisfied. Where did you all get that the woman owes anything to the man? It is not anywhere in Judaism. I was like, wow.
Well, and that's still very one-sided, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. That's amazing because I couldn't wrap my head around that because it was so opposite in the way I was raised.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe that Christianity was teaching that when supposedly they got it from us. I'm like, well, somebody went wacko on this one.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things, not to bash on Christianity. Everyone can believe and worship however they would like to. But I think there are a lot of things from one denomination, even within Christianity, to another, that it's like,
they're very
took
different.
that to the extreme. That's what you chose, huh?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. And there are good people. I've met some very good people that are totally sincere and it works for them. And so I totally honor that. I honor all beliefs. So I don't want to come off. This is just my personal choice.
Yeah. Yeah, my grandfather, I mentioned, was a Church of Christ preacher. He was one of the most kind, wonderful people you will ever meet, and very, very religious. And it's like, if everyone was like him, I would have no problems with anything.
Right.
So it is a very individualistic thing. First of all, which religion you're following. And second of all, the way you choose to implement it. So, yeah, I support everyone being in whatever religion they choose to be in or that they feel like serves them. I don't want to diminish that at all.
Yes.
But it's just interesting to look at the differences to me.
Yeah.
So, Mark, I want to give you a chance to kind of reflect maybe on the things that Lynetta was sharing about, the time with your dance partner, and how did you approach that? When she brought it up, did you understand what she was talking about? And did you understand how to kind of help her through that and work together on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because the whole thing kind of caught me by surprise. And I actually even had trouble understanding why I felt this strong pull towards this other woman. And then we have a mutual friend who can see past lives, and she said, "Oh, yeah, you two have been, me and this other woman have been together like romantically in at least 4 past lives.
Wow.
And most importantly, there's no unresolved karma between you." In other words, sometimes we're attracted to somebody and then, we can be at each other's throats at the same time. But there was none of that. It was just so easy to be together. So I almost didn't know what to do with it. And I was kind of in turmoil. And then Lynetta just kind of, grokked it. And at one point said, "What's going on?
What's going on with you?
What's going on?" So then I shared it all. And then she asked that question, well, if, you want to be with her like full time and end our relationship, I'll support that. And I got she was sincere.
Yeah.
But what I said to Lynetta, as and she already mentioned it, was honestly, there's no woman in the world like Lynetta. She is one of a kind. And the things that attracted me to her were, first of all the challenges that she overcame. The fact that she had so much trauma from her childhood, enough to write a full book on, and she overcame it. It doesn't rule her anymore. She rules over it.
Yeah.
She has integrated it and become just this amazing mom and wife and coach. And it's like...
And sister.
Like who she's created herself to be after having moved through all that and healing it is incredible. And also, one of the things we both decided we wanted before we met each other was a partner who was very into spiritual growth or self-development, whatever you want to call it. And that they were doing their own work and would support us in doing our work. That was way at the top of the list for both of us. And Lynetta is absolutely that. And we actually have an agreement that if we see each other playing small, like getting stuck in something, we will bring it out. Like, we consider our obligation to each other. Like, if she sees I'm stuck in something, like I'm in some old eating pattern and I'm wolfing food down, she'll say, "Honey, what's going on?" And maybe we'll do some work, a little digging about why I'm eating more than I need to, or whatever the situation is. So besides all these amazing qualities she has, I know she wants me to grow to be the best I possibly can.
Yes.
And I get nobody else, including this other woman who's really a dear friend, doesn't have those capabilities and that commitment to me.
Yeah.
So this kind of all went into the decision like, oh my God, of course I want to be with you. Like, there's just no question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a recent one, so.
Oh yeah.
That's good. I mean, you're together for almost 10 years, you said, and still working through things, which is great.
Yes.
I mean, it's clear.
Yeah, we expect we'll be working through things till our last breath.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's layers. Remember what Shrek said? There's onion layers.
The onion layers. Yes. Yeah.
Onion layers.
Constantly peeling them away. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really clear that y'all are very vulnerable and open with each other and with kind of within your partnership. So if you're looking at another couple, or if you're working with another couple, what are some strategies that you recommend for couples to create an environment of trust and emotional safety for each other?
Mm.
Want me to do this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I would say the biggest tool that we use is acknowledgments.
Mm.
When couples are having problems, as we already said, it's usually because stuff from the past is still coming in and triggers are being triggered. And then all the finger pointing, blaming, shouting, anger, hurts, all that comes in. So what we do first is we teach them acknowledgments, usually even the first day. And acknowledgments are giving voice to whatever from the past is coming up that's getting triggered in the present. That's almost always where we go. So we'll point out, okay, he said this, you felt that. Does this remind you of anything, maybe from childhood? And it's like, oh yeah, my mom would, do this when I would do that. And yeah, it feels exactly the same.
Yeah.
So then we acknowledge the hurt they felt
Yep.
when that childhood event happened.
Mm.
And there's a lot of techniques. We help them release the energy of that hurt. Lynetta will often lead them through a reparenting technique,
Inner child work.
inner child work. Yeah, that's one technique Lynetta's really good at to help them release that hurt from the past.
Yeah.
Then we'll bring them back to the present and say, okay, so you see when he said that, it triggered that thing from, what your mom used to do. Now that you know that, if he were to say that, do you still get triggered? And when it's cleared, you won't have the emotions come up anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you still have to deal with the present level. Okay, he said he wants to go out drinking with his buddies on Friday night, and you want him to be home with you and watch a movie on Netflix. Okay, so then there's something to work out. But once you're not being triggered, like, feeling you're being abandoned, like maybe you felt as a child, but you've brought it to the current, say, okay, I'm not feeling abandoned, and still I'd like to do something with you Friday nights, as opposed to have you go out drinking with your buddies. How can we work this out? Neither of us are right or wrong with what we want.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more emotion. How do we find a workable solution?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be something as simple as saying, okay, so how about one Friday night you'll stay in and we'll watch a movie together, and then alternate Friday nights you'll go out drinking with your buddies. Yeah. Or we pick different nights to do these activities. Mm-hmm. There's always a workable solution once you take the emotional energy out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's that two-part, like you have to deal with what is causing the kind of feeling of whatever it is, and then also you still have to deal with whatever needs compromise over here, right? Whatever in the now between you needs to be worked out, still has to be worked out. It's not just one or the other. I think that it's really easy to say, well, you need to do work on why you're so emotional. Or you need to give up whatever it is I don't want you to do. But addressing them both is really, really cool and really important, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the trauma that's getting triggered, it's, if you've ever done any inner child work, you know how powerful it is that there really is a little you in there that gets suppressed, and often you may not even remember it's in the subconscious. So one way for you to find out what's going on in your subconscious is if you have any pain in your body, go breathe into that part of your body where you feel pain and ask it to share with you what its message is, because these traumatic events get shoved down into the subconscious, but they're also in your body because it's a visceral feeling. Whatever the PTSD was, that trauma is a visceral experience, and it's trapped in the body. So if you have physical pain somewhere, you need to learn. And there's a way I take people through that, is to go into that pain, sit with it, and listen to it and say, I'm not here to fix you, change you, or make you go away. I'm here just to listen, and I will be quiet, and I'll stay here all day until that small voice comes in and says, this is what's happened, and I'm scared. I'm whatever it is. I don't know how to get out. I'm trapped. And a lot of times it's like a younger you that's trapped in a very traumatic place, and it's been put into the basement of your consciousness and waiting until you're in a safe place where you're strong enough to reparent yourself and have somebody guide. You do need help doing this process. Have somebody go with you into that basement and get that little you back. And there's a way to do that through the body. Somatic. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard somatic experiencing.
Yeah, so we've talked about that in the context of EFT and that kind of tapping, that kind of emotional freedom techniques and tapping and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. So doing these things, I mean, it's one thing to do them, like you're saying, with a facilitator there, right? Or a counselor or whatever it is.
Right.
How do couples, what advice would you have for people who are maybe struggling with past wounds and they're trying to find a way to do this either at home by themselves, they can't afford a counselor, or anything like that? What advice would you have for them?
Well, I'd say let's set up a conversation, because we'll work with you. We'll work with you. We'll figure out how to make it something that you can do.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Because my heart goes out to people in that situation. And I would say, we'll work that out. The main thing is, are you willing to do the work? Are you committed? And if you are, then we'll match that.
Yeah. I think that, especially in the U.S., it can be hard to get access to good mental health care and good counseling and that kind of thing. And I know that there are others out there who are willing to do something similar, either scaled income charging or whatever it is. So if you are out there and you're thinking, I wish I could do this, but I just can't afford it, start reaching out to people. and start with Mark and Lynetta if you need to. But
and if we're not the ones for you, we'll point you in the direction that is good for you. And we may know of resources that you don't.
I like that.
Yeah.
Are there any exercises or something?
Yeah,
like
actually,
that?
let me just pipe up on that. Actually, we found out we had Kaiser Health Insurance, that they had mental health care included as part of the coverage.
They do. Yeah.
So health insurance might be one avenue that they will pay for a certain number of sessions for whatever.
That's
and
right.
I would check that out.
Yep.
And even checking with your employer sometimes. Sometimes your employer will have like a employee assistance program that you can get a certain number of sessions through or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't realize how many resources are out there, even if you don't have any money. And there's so many YouTubes on any topic. You can just put it into YouTube.
That's true. That's true. You got,
And
make sure you're watching someone who's reputable, but yes.
Yes. And you can go on chat. Have you ever used AI, Chat GPT?
Not
It's
for like mental health type services.
You can ask it. What are the resources for this is what I have. This is my challenge. What are the resources in my area for somebody with low income?
Oh, that is a great idea.
It'll tell you everything. Cool. Yeah.
So many people are afraid of AI, but I'm telling you, it's gonna make things so much better.
It is so useful
when everyone gets on board.
Yes, it's so useful. They are not aliens that are going to take over the world.
Look, I would give the world to aliens, quite honestly. Like, you can't do anything worse than humans have already done. Have at
it. They might improve things.
We welcome our alien overlords here.
Yes. Show us the way.
Yes, please. Take me to your leader. Absolutely not. You become the leader. I don't want to tell you who our leader is at any point in time, no matter the country right now. Like, they've all done bad things.
Yes.
Is there anything that you feel like everyone in a relationship could benefit from doing, either together or separately, regardless of their own personal trauma or things that they're dealing with? Exercises or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
There is acknowledgments. I would say do the acknowledgments with each other. And let me give you a demo of that. Do we have time for that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mama, I'm going to acknowledge you. Are you ready?
Sure.
Alrighty. So I really want to acknowledge how much you put into doing this show. You have this whole document that's so organized so well that helps us to know exactly what's going to happen, what we need to do to prepare, what we need to do to get on the same, program that you're using for your show. And it was like you were holding our hand through the whole process. And you've always, you from the moment that you came on, you are so gracious. Like, even though we had created an account, the same account, and you probably knew this wasn't going to work for us to be on the same account and we're not together. And, so we needed to each have our own account, but you were so gracious in saying, hey, it'll all get worked out. And Mark was able to do it. And we got on, but you never broke a sweat. So I want to acknowledge how really confident you are. Your heart is so big, and you're like, I don't make money from doing this, but you want to help people so much. It's such a deep commitment that you have to help people heal. And that's such a beautiful heart. I just really want to acknowledge how much love you have for people. Thank you.
Aww.
Yeah. And I just want to add what you also shared earlier is that you've got a full-time day job.
Yeah.
And that you are doing this after hours, like hopefully when the kids are asleep, just because you feel it's important to share this gift of yours with the world.
And you're a mama, and you have kids. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And a kitty.
Yes. Well.
Yeah.
He's also asleep.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for saying that. That's really, really sweet. I never know how to respond when someone says things like that, but I appreciate hearing it for sure.
You say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a demo to those of your listeners that look for things that you can acknowledge. And at first, it's a muscle. So I had never done anything like this. I come from a family that all they do is complain and criticize and sarcasm. So I was so not used to acknowledging. So at first, just start with something simple like, oh my gosh, honey, thank you so much for washing the dishes. That meant so much to me. It was nice to just be able to kick back and enjoy a good book while you were washing the dishes. It gave me a break, and I just really appreciate that. So start with something simple like that. And as you practice it and do it more often, you'll find that your gratitude for your partner will grow. Your heart will just open up and start blossoming. You'll find that you're able to come up with more acknowledgments that feel more natural and more genuine. Even if you had to at first fake it till you make it, that's all good. Just start it. Just start doing it. And you're going to feel difference in yourself, and your partner is going to feel more warmth and love towards you. And that will create more intimacy and love and trust between you. And it's going to have a huge impact. You won't believe how important it is to do acknowledgments until you start doing them.
And what Lynetta described was acknowledging each other, but also acknowledgments includes acknowledging yourself, giving yourself the proverbial pat in the back and saying, good job, MommaFoxFire, for doing this podcast, and sharing your gifts and juggling kids and juggling a job and juggling all the tech that needs to go on to have this happen and all the communications with potential guests and actual guests. Just really pat yourself on the back and saying, you're doing a mighty fine job.
Yes.
And that can be really hard for people. A lot of us find it might be, easier to acknowledge somebody else as opposed to acknowledge ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
And then kind of the ultimate is we also teach for people to ask to be acknowledged for something.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I could say, Lynetta, I would like to be acknowledged for figuring out how to get us both on with different accounts within a few minutes time and not knowing, how these programs and sites all work and just, plowing into it, even if I had to curse a little bit under my breath. but I still managed to get the job done. I would like to be acknowledged for that.
Oh,
so that's
honey.
Resting and acknowledgement. Yeah.
Can I acknowledge you? I'll do a short one.
You may.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So thank you, honey, so much. You just really you did it in minutes. I know you only had a few minutes to do this. I'm sure you were feeling the pressure, and I know how it is for you when you're like, oh my God, we're gonna be on in like 5 minutes. I gotta get this done,
Yep.
And you just pulled it together, and I had total confidence. I knew you would. And I'm just so proud of you. You are the tech guy for all our work that we do with the internet and all that computer stuff, and you do a really great job, and I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that. Everything that just happened, I love.
And we love that you love it.
Yes.
I feel like it would definitely be a lot easier for me to, and I think that I do. Let's see, 10 o'clock. So I was going to say maybe I could call my 16-year-old in here and ask him, but now he's in bed. But I feel like I do acknowledge my kids pretty with fair frequency whenever they do something without being prompted, or even if they have been prompted, if they do it without too much distraction. Right. And that's a lot easier for me to do than to acknowledge anything that I myself have done.
Right. And you can ask them, is there anything they would like to be acknowledged for? Which is an opportunity for them to say, oh yeah, Mom, I did this, this, and this, and you didn't know that. It could be something at home, something going on in their life.
Something at school that you don't even know.
So it's creating an opportunity for them to share more deeply with you, so you know more about their lives, and then they'll feel more seen and heard and loved if you do it.
Yeah. I love that. I'm writing it down because I feel like that's important for me to remember to implement.
Yes. And after you've done it for a while, you might say, hey, is it okay if I get an acknowledgement? I would like to be acknowledged for me doing this, this, and this, so you could, succeed in that project at school or whatever. Because we know they don't know everything that we do for them.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be opening their eyes. They would have more appreciation of you and actually express it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I already make them do affirmations every morning, which they sometimes get a little annoyed by. But actually now that's a few weeks into the school routine, they're both kind of on board with it. And I think that they appreciate it.
Nice.
So this will be just one more. And then after school, we have our little rituals of different things that we talk about. But this will be, they'll be like, Mom, one more thing, really?
Yeah.
But I could definitely implement that. And I love it. So I actually wrote it down on a Post-it for myself. That's fantastic.
Wonderful.
So I mentioned your books at the very beginning, 3 Doors to the Soul and Do the Work, 5 Steps to Transcend Trauma, Summon Love, and Invoke Your Power. Those provide tools for healing and creating fulfilling partnerships. Can you talk a little bit about the steps and how they contribute to the process of healing wounds and finding lasting love?
Yes, it's the steps that I went through to write the book is actually how you can use those steps for your own healing. So what I did was I wrote down the story, which is short. I did that intentionally. I only share maybe 1 page about the trauma. And then the second part is also short about the impact it had on the rest of my life. So you can see, like, oh my gosh, just from when my mom criticized me for making the bed for the first time, and I had never made a bed before in my life, and I was so proud and I wanted to show her. And she came in and tore it apart and redid it. And that's all she did. She didn't say anything, and I was crushed. How that impacted me the rest of my life was I always thought other people could do a better job, so why bother? So that's the impact. And then the next part is what I did for the transformation, how I healed it, how I moved through it and got to the root cause and really put that to rest. And the next part is the bliss that I experience now, which is the impact of healing it. And then the last part is the tools that the reader can use for themselves. So you could say for yourself, tell your story, write down the trauma, the impact that trauma has had on the rest of your life so you can really feel the impact. And then find what transformational tool is going to be most powerful for you that'll help you heal. And then enjoy the bliss from it, the happiness and the freedom you get from doing that. And then share it with others. Share with others what you did so you can help somebody else. So those are all the steps that are in every single chapter. And there's 13 chapters. It's a short read. You can get it on Amazon. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like that. We do have a community question that Bite Mark sent in ahead of time. And she would like to know what is, and maybe you both have the same, or maybe it's 2 separate ones, or whatever. What is your favorite poem?
I have Rumi. Mine is, there is a field beyond good, bad, right, and wrong. I will meet you there. I love that one. Yeah.
Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, beyond the ideas. You can Google it because there's a longer version of that. So just start a search of beyond right, wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
There
you go. Right and wrong. There it is.
Yes.
Yeah. The quote by Rumi. So that is a really good one to remember so that you don't have to feel guilty for anything. There is nothing to feel guilty or shameful about. There is no good, bad, right, wrong. People are making it up. Some people will say, oh my gosh, what you're doing is so selfish. And then another person will say, oh, wow, that is such great self-care. And it's the same thing. Like you're going to the day spa or something. And it's like, because that person who says you're selfish wants you to do something else. They have an agenda. That's why. So there is no good, bad, right, or wrong, except for what we as humans have made up.
That's true. How about you, Mark? Do you have a favorite poem?
Mine would probably be Song of Songs from the Bible.
Okay.
Which is all poetry, and it's actually about love and the pursuit of love. And in rabbinical school, we actually learned how to chant the whole Bible. There's actually musical notes that go with every book of the Bible. And Song of Songs has one, it's used for a few books, that one and the Book of Ruth. And for me, the melody is just this beautiful lilting melody. Is it okay if I just sing like two lines of it for you?
Absolutely. I would love that. Are you kidding me?
It'll be in Hebrew. Shir Hashirim Asher Li Shlomo Yishakini Minishikot Pihu Ki Tovim Dodecha Meyayin L'Reya Shmanecha Tovim Shemen Turak Shemecha Al Kain Alamot Ahevucha. And the translation of that is basically how parts of it are like the man talking to the woman, parts of the woman talking to the man, but it's basically saying that your qualities are so much beyond your beauty. It's like the scent of you and your deeds and who you are is such a gift. And that's what I truly love about you. And it's kind of the pursuit and the qualities.
Yeah.
And one of the, I'll mention one other poetry, if you will, is the last proverb of the book of Proverbs is called Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. And there's a Jewish tradition that Friday nights, the husband sings this entire proverb to his wife, which talks about all the qualities of the ideal woman. And this is not, the woman who just sits around and does nothing. It's a woman who's doing business. She's in charge of the household. She's making sure people in the community have their needs taken care of. And it's like, this woman's an absolute dynamo. And in fact, the only thing it says about the husband is he sits with the other elders in the gates of the city. It's like, and he's known as her husband. In other words, his fame is being her husband. That's it. So it's like, and it's kind of like poetry also, and that's also sung by a husband to his wife, and I've sung it a bunch of times for Lynetta, and that's also one of my favorite pieces of poetry, if you will.
He doesn't like to toot his own horn, but he is an ordained rabbi, and he never practiced as one, but I still like to share that because that is 8 years of rabbinical studies.
In Hebrew.
In Hebrew.
It's a lot
and
of work.
Singing it.
Yeah.
And sing.
Yeah, that's really cool and beautiful. I mean, there are so many parts of the Bible that are just beautiful, beautiful works of art. They really are just works of art in the Bible.
Yep. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What does self-care look like for each of you these days?
Oh, hun, this is good for you to answer.
Yeah. Self-care has kind of been my biggest challenge, lifelong challenge,
Oh.
even though I've been working on it for most of my life.
Mhm.
And just recently, we hired a business coach to help us with the marketing, which, as Lynetta said, we're awesome relationship coaches, and we suck at marketing. And we just
Yeah.
decided we got to get out in the world, so we got to master this marketing thing.
Yeah.
But in addition to helping us with all the business steps, he actually used to help people with physical training as well. So I'm doing exercise at least twice a day, fast walking, bicycling, could be other activities like pickleball, depending on where we are, or hiking. And I'm changing my eating, kayaking if we got a lake or river nearby. Dancing, especially if, yes, can't leave out dancing, right, honey?
Yes. Sometimes we just dance in the RV.
I love that.
Oh, yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
we will do that.
Yeah.
And then eating's another big part of my self-care. I'm cutting down. We eat very good food, mostly organic. We do Vitamixing, juicing. Unfortunately, my quantities have just been too much, which I've known for a lot of my life. And, I've got about 20 excess pounds to shed. So
You comfort
really,
eat. You eat for
yeah.
comfort. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm changing those patterns and really focusing on, eating less and less of the, sweet food. Like Haagen-Dazs is my go-to,
Hard to
And
say no to that.
we got an alternative doctor and got on the right supplements.
Yep.
Yeah.
And got off some things that we didn't need, like hormones, it turns out.
Yeah. I was taking testosterone and I don't need it.
Oh.
Yep. And me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and focusing on sleeping more.
Yeah. And getting off of your devices. He's on the devices.
Devices, so we're not
all
on devices
the time.
right before we go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And meditating more. These are all like parts of our self-care that we've both like really turned our lives around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm meditating in the morning and the evening, and now I'm putting together to do my yoga, qigong, take a walk or dance, and do that twice a day. Along with my meditation. I'm eating really healthy. I've been doing a really good job on that, taking all my supplements, and I'm feeling so good. I have a ton of energy. I feel happy. I truly feel joyful. I'm experiencing grace, which I've never experienced before. I'm feeling it in my body, and it's just amazing. It's a love for life that is just welling up, and meditation really works. There's many different ways to do that. You do have to find the one that works for you. But also I do pampering. I spend time, I'll go get a pedicure and a manicure, spend some time doing that. We soak in the hot tub. We love to get to sit in the hot tub together.
And
get a massage or see a chiropractor. I like to see acupuncturists. I think that really helps. I like essential oils. They help me ground, and crystals. I have a lot of crystals that help me heal. I sleep with crystals under my pillow. And they help me. So there's lots of really good self-care. I used to take myself on hot dates by myself, and I haven't been doing them because my husband loves to have me with him 24/7. And I used to say I need at least one self-care day to myself, but then I end up not doing it. So I need to bring that back on board because my husband, he just loves being around me all the time, but I need to recharge by being alone.
Yeah.
So that's something I can improve on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
So if you need me to push you out the door once a week, honey, I will do that for you.
Get out.
go do your self-care day.
Yes, get out of here.
Do you
Yeah.
find that living in an RV makes it harder to get kind of alone time from each other?
Well, yeah, it's small quarters,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
but there's always we usually have a clubhouse, and
Mm.
we're usually in beautiful places in nature.
Mm.
So I can go on a hike, I can go to, and we have a car besides the RV, so
Sure.
I can take off, but actually for being such a small RV, 25 feet, we get along so well.
Ah,
We
that's
really
good.
do. Yeah, we really do. Yeah.
I have there okay, so for some reason my family like loves to live in small spaces with people. So my it's my uncle Ellis, and I can never remember my aunt's name. I think it's maybe Phyllis. I feel like it's Ellis and Phyllis. They lived in an RV for like 12 years and traveled all over the place, and they loved it. And they only came back whenever they started having some health issues. So they had to kind of park in one spot for an extended period of time. And then my parents lived on a boat together, a sailboat, for 5 years. And now my sister and her husband are living in an RV and building a tiny home together.
Oh, they like small spaces.
Something about my family is just like this is what we need to do.
Yeah. It simplifies life.
Yeah. That's what they've all said. Like we had to decide what was really truly important to us and let go of everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we do have a comment in the chat that I want to address. So Tib says, I have a tough time dating because once dating, I feel committed even if it isn't good because the time I invested in it. There's a term, the sunk cost fallacy, I think is the term for that. When you're talking about business, I'm sure it's different for relationships. But there is a sunk cost fallacy that would apply there. But I would love to hear y'all's comments on that as well.
Okay.
Well, I think we need to share Lynetta's favorite word regarding previous relationships.
Well, I went through a lot of relationships, and after a while, I got really good at shortening the time that I would spend with somebody that I knew was not a match. And my word would be next.
I like that.
In fact, when I met Lynetta, she had been living with a guy for a week. And then she realized it wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
So after a week, she was like, next.
It was getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And the part of that is coming from, if you have a background where you had family that said, where's your loyalty? Your blood is thicker than water. You should be, you should be loyal. And I think that feeling of like, well, I've already put time in, spent time with them. Don't I owe them something? You don't owe them anything. You owe them nothing. What you really are going to be upset with if you compromise is you're going to feel like you're losing a part of yourself. And then you're going to be upset at yourself. And instead of being afraid of the people pleasing is really also what this is. If you're afraid of hurting their feelings and people pleasing, then you're going to be hurt because you're going to be upset with yourself. And the first person to make sure you're in alignment with whatever you're doing is you. You got to make sure that you're true to you first. Otherwise, if somebody told you they really didn't want to spend time with you, but they did because they felt obligated, would you want that? No. So that person is not going to be happy. Someday they're going to find out down the road that you really don't want to be with them. And they're going to say, well, why did you drag it on for so long? For crying out loud, you could have told me 10 years ago that you really didn't want to be with me. Jeez. You're doing the other person a favor and yourself by cut them loose and move on to somebody who's a match for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you say your sunk opportunity cost or however you said it is a learning experience for what you want and don't want.
Right.
You can really just have gratitude, say, wow, I'm so glad I learned more about who I want to be with and who I don't want to be with.
Yes.
Because now it's getting me closer to the person I do want to spend my life with.
Right. Exactly. That's the most important.
Gratitude for it as being another step along the path. You know, and I think there might be a little pessimism in the background, like, well, I may never find the right one, all those stories.
Right.
You know, so maybe I should just stick it out because this one's kind of, sort of, maybe, perhaps enough.
Or settle for.
Settle. Oh my God, that's the worst. Settling. Oh, horrible word. Yeah. So it's like, don't be pessimistic. We truly believe you can have any person you want. You can have the best relationship ever if you're willing to really be straight with yourself about what you want and don't want, and then just go full out for it.
Yeah.
And it's a myth that all the good ones are taken. That's a myth. Yeah, there's plenty of good people.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about those myths. Because they include, all the good ones are taken. I'm too old. I'm too damaged. I'm too hurt. Nobody could accept all of me. What else, honey?
I've got baggage.
I got baggage. I haven't fixed myself yet.
I have a venereal disease. That comes up.
Or a deadly disease that's not venereal.
Right. Right. Who would want me?
Who would want me?
Right.
All those things. They're all just limiting. There's no truth to them.
No, that's made up. And you learned it somewhere. You didn't come out of your mama's womb saying, oh, I'm a nothing. Oh, I'm a nothing.
Yeah.
You didn't come out that way. You learned it from somewhere. You can unlearn it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
I think so. I mean, I definitely am in my practice dating era.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same, Lynetta. I am the same. I'm like, okay, I went on a couple dates with you and figured out something that I don't want. So thanks for that. Bye. And now I'm going to go on a couple dates with you and figure out something that I don't want. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
But what you do is, every time you get a don't want, you flip it and say, okay, so what does that tell me about what I do want in my life?
I like that.
And you make your do want list. And Lynetta, all the previous relationships that she went through, and she's been married several times previously, you know, and each one, she went after one particular attribute that she wanted, and she got it. And then she said, okay, I want that, but I don't want these other 7 things. And she just kept making her list. And then when we met, I basically had everything on her list, and vice versa.
That's awesome.
And more that I didn't know. And more
and
that
bonuses.
I didn't even have.
Chanting
Bonuses.
Shir Shirim in Hebrew. Who knew?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And so while you're dating, like, really look at your values. And if you want to shorten the time, like, instead of going for a dinner, just go for coffee or tea. Then you don't have to drag it out for a whole evening. You know, don't make your first date a dinner and movie.
Yeah.
Make it a quick coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hot
or
take.
just meet.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, or just meet at the bus stop, and if you get right away there, no go. Just get on the bus. See ya.
Yeah. I've got a hot take on movies as dates because I think they're terrible. And if you're going to a movie in the first few dates, I don't think that's a great idea because I went on one just recently.
How are you going to get to know each other?
Yeah, exactly. I went on one just recently. We did dinner and a movie, and it was a wonderful, wonderful date. I don't want to like diminish that it was not a bad date fantastic. But it's like we're sitting there and I'm like, we got some popcorn and we each got a drink and we're sharing the popcorn. So now there's like popcorn to worry about and you can't talk during a movie. And it just, it was fine. Yeah. It's fine to go to the movies as a couple, but I don't know. I kind of regret.
Not on a first date.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a first date.
Yeah. I don't regret the date. I just wish we had picked a different activity. But it's also so damn hot in Texas. It's hard to do something. Like you can't go.
Oh, yeah. You know, you need to be air conditioned.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. You know,
so she had suggested putt-putt, and I was like, it is too. I can't
too hot.
Putt-putt. Well, what about like the zoo or something? I'm like, it's too hot.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's different. But.
Yeah. Ice skating or bowling, maybe.
Ice skating.
I don't know that there are. Well, I'll bet the Stars practice arena is probably open to the public at some point.
Yeah.
I think they moved that up to Frisco, but it is officially time for the magic moment of the stream, and I have this beautiful magic wand that was purchased by Bitemark for this stream. So if you could wave this magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception or theory surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, what would it be?
It's okay if I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say wipe away the idea that there's anything wrong with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you've gone through, no matter what you're struggling with, wipe away the idea that there's anything wrong.
Yeah. Yep. And everything that you have been through and experienced, if you hadn't had those experiences, you wouldn't be the person that you were born to become. They have all helped you to become the person you are, and you're becoming a star.
Yeah. And know that all past traumas can be cleared.
They can be healed.
The techniques are out there. There are. You mentioned EFT. Lynetta's done EMDR. There's reparenting. There's a million techniques. And if you haven't found yet what will help you truly clear whatever traumas you've gone through, keep at it. We guarantee the techniques already exist to help you.
Yeah. And you will find the one that works for you and really resonates for you, and just know that, and keep listening to podcasts like this. You're just you listening to this is going to help you feel some peace, because just knowing there's some steps you can take towards your healing is a relief.
I think those are great suggestions.
And by the way, it really is important to be on that journey and find what works for you. One of the things Lynetta and I joke about is, had we met maybe even a year before we did, we met when we were both, Lynetta was 49 and I was mid-50s. And we've jokingly said, if we hadn't done all the work we did and had met earlier in our lives, we would have shredded each other. We would have ripped each other to pieces, because we could both be so caustic and attacking and you name it. So it's like, thank God we didn't meet until later, once we had done enough of the work that we could then see each other's greatness and then continue the work together.
Yeah.
I am an absolute believer in things happen at the time they happen for a reason. And that's coming from someone. I have been through a lot of shit and I wouldn't change any of it, because it truly did bring me, like, even to this very moment, this very day, to where I live now, to who I'm connected with in the community, like everything. It all happened. Do I wish that it could have happened without so much pain, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
we all
course.
do.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes.
But it's
Yes.
made us all into the amazing people we are. And all your
Exactly.
Yeah.
listeners, they're also amazing people.
Yep.
And we
We
want you to know that. Yes.
Yeah, and we are all here because of that trauma. Like we wouldn't be talking about this right now
Yes.
if we hadn't experienced it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can
Yep.
be true for your listeners right now. They can be sharing their story and it'll give other people hope. And that is the best feeling in the world to share, to know that your pain and suffering is not for nothing. It can help other people.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Do what you need to do to heal, to move on,
Yes.
to get out of any situations that are not serving you. And by that I mean anything that is damaging or anything that just isn't, serving. It isn't bringing you joy. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then when you're looking back on it, truly, it did bring you to wherever you get in your life. I think that's important to honor.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I want to honor too that people that are really in deep pain right now, they don't want to hear that, oh, this is for your highest good.
Right.
It'll make you stronger. You're going to be a better person. That sucks when you hear that when you're in the middle of the pain. So we have compassion for you. We feel you. And we don't expect you to be there right now. It's later on down the road. But right now, we just have compassion.
Yeah. And also, I just want to, if I could emphasize one more thing, I think we're not in any way implying that if you're in an abusive situation or a situation that is less than perfect, that you should stay there because it's where you're supposed to be. That is not what any of us are saying, and we would never suggest that. So,
absolutely.
Just want to make that real clear.
Thank you.
That's very important.
Yeah, I've been there, and I did what I had to do to get out of it, and I'm glad that I did. But yeah, when you're in it, you're right. You can't recognize most of that. So
no.
Well, I do want to go ahead and share y'all's socials one more time and the links to y'all's books as well. And I'm just going to turn it over to you, Mark and Lynetta, and ask if there's anything that we haven't covered or that you just want to comment on or anything like that. I'll just hand you the mic for a little bit and let you talk while I post these links again.
Oh, well, I guess, why don't we give our listeners an acknowledgement, honey?
Sure. Go ahead, honey.
Do that. So if you have been with us this whole time, it's been a while. We've been on for about 2 hours. So we really want to acknowledge you taking out the time to sit and be with us. And whatever you're going through, just know how brave and courageous you are. To even consider healing is an act of great courage, because there are times through it that you're going to re-experience some things, and it's going to be hard but once you move through it and you let it go, it's going to give you freedom. And you know that on some level. That's why you're listening. So I want to acknowledge you for taking the time out. This is good self-care, what you're doing right now by listening. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate you.
Very much appreciate everybody who is here listening, watching, all of it. Appreciate your input into the community and your input into these conversations and everything that y'all do just around Even Tacos Fall Apart. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll chat.
So
go ahead.
Yeah. So if people want to be in contact with us and see if maybe we have some tools we can help you with, maybe you want to do a little work with us, the best place to find us would be to go to thesoulmatecoaches.com or any of the social media links which MommaFoxFire is posting.
Yes.
And contact us through them. And we can do a short, 20-minute discovery call. And you can tell us more about what's going on in your life, what kind of challenges you have, what what you think you need to move forward, what you'd like to have in your life, and we'll see if we can all support each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much.
Sounds good.
I just posted all those links, so if y'all want to connect with Mark and Lynetta, feel free to click through on any of those and go follow them on socials. Even if you don't want to, have a consult with them or anything, go follow them on socials.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're going to be doing some great things coming up. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you guys
so
both
much
for joining me today. I appreciate you taking out the time.
Thank you. We appreciate being here.
Very grateful to you.
Yeah.
And that, my beautiful friends, brings us to the end of another episode of Even Tacos Fall Apart. I hope you found inspiration, wisdom, and maybe even some moments of self-reflection in this conversation with Mark and Lynetta. Remember, healing is a journey, and each step forward is a victory. If you resonated with today's episode, check out the Tacos Fall Apart website for ways to connect with Mark and Lynetta. And while you're there, you can see who's joining us on the show for next Monday, or find mental health resources, or even check out some fun digital art and other products that I've created and put up there. Before we part ways, I want to express my deepest gratitude to Mark and Lynetta for sharing their expertise and heartfelt insights. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone, send them a link. Maybe they need to hear these words today, maybe they're working on healing themselves, but let's spread the healing vibes and the love. As we wrap up, always remember that your journey is uniquely yours, and there's strength in embracing every twist and turn of it. Until next time, take care of your own beautiful souls. See you soon.